Foolish Decisions, March 2021.
We're about to do a space-time experiment.
It's already been done.
Let's hear the natural observed phenomenon. Oh, if this has already been done, then this should be pretty easy. What's the natural observed phenomena?
Why are you going through that? Why didn't you actually go and read what they've written about the prediction and the
That's
hypothesis?
how we start. You need a dependent variable.
No,
before
you
you can
start
do
off with an idea.
Wrong. You don't start off with an idea, you dumbass cracker. This isn't imagination story time.
You start off with a
thought. No, you can't do
yes,
anything without a dependent variable.
I'm sorry,
That's the effect.
I am citing Richard Feynman, who I think knows a fuck
What's the
more
dependent
about
variable
than you
then?
do.
Go ahead. Make my day.
As percentages also quoted Richard Feynman.
So what? Who cares? What's the relevance of what who or somebody else quoted?
And Richard Feynman, in his main lecture about science and the scientific method.
Wrong. The main lecture you're talking about is from Cornell University in 1964, titled Richard Feynman Discusses Seeking New Laws, as in natural laws. Natural laws have nothing whatsoever to do with the scientific method.
States, we start off with a guess, an idea. And what we do is we take that idea and then we say, what if this is true? What would be the implications of this in reality? And that's where you start.
Are you high right now?
Number one, Dick's train wreck here doesn't help you. He's talking about natural laws. You were asked for experimental validation of bendy space-time, an alleged scientific theory. Duh. Number two, Dick's wrong in his explanation of how natural laws are established, which I'll be demonstrating momentarily. Later in the lecture, he clumsily conflates laws and theories to mean the same thing, which would get him laughed out of any fifth grade general science class. He also calls by name the debunked universal law of gravity, Newton's theory, in the very next breath. Nothing like bashing yourself in the face with a spade shovel, Dick. I know what the problem is. Dick was a theoretical physicist.
Because I'm a theoretical physicist. Because I'm a theoretical physicist.
So technically, citing him in reference to his knowledge of the scientific method, which is based solely on experiment, is an appeal to authority fallacy, because Dick, as a theoretical physicist, is not a subject matter expert in the area of natural science, i.e. the scientific method. From your alma mater wiki, theoretical physics is a branch of physics that employs mathematical models and abstractions.
What the hell did you just say?
Of physical objects and systems to rationalize, explain, and predict natural phenomena. Yeah, right. This is in contrast to experimental physics, which is painfully redundant, which uses experimental tools to probe these phenomena. End of citation. Warning! Numpty contradiction paradox alert. How can something be titled physics, that is, physical, and at the same time employ methods that are antithetical to itself? Por favor? From Princeton University's WordNet, physics, physical science, the physical properties, phenomena, and laws of something. Guess what the antithesis or antonym of physical or physics is? You guessed it, abstract or abstractions. But as we just heard, theoretical physics employs abstractions and mathematical models, which are also abstractions. This is tantamount to using a digital micrometer to measure freedom or a flow cytometer to analyze taxation without representation remnants. Only in Shangri-La, folks. Holy moly. Listen to this pathetic exchange.
Citation.
which are dependent.
No, where's the
Which are
full
dependent
no,
variables.
no. Where's the full quote to that? Where is it?
Oh, you want me to go and dig it up, Chemo? I'm just walking about
he
talking.
did-
I just want the
let's-
dependent
let's make
variables.
sure he's
Hold on
not-
1 second. Chemo, do you doubt that statement is true?
Is it the full statement? Let's have a look.
It was a
Full
2-hour
statement.
lecture. Do you want me to recite the entire 2-hour lecture for you?
No, just get
Please,
the
no,
statement.
I
God,
can
no.
go get the transcript and do it. It's not a
Just
problem.
get the
You want all his
timestamp
words,
of when he
so that's
said
what I
that
need
part.
to do to be complete.
Get the timestamp
Sure,
of
I
when he
saw
said
it.
that part. It's a 10-hour video. Get the timestamp of when he said that part.
I'm not going to dance to your game. What I'm going to do is I'm going to quote the
Not a
method,
game.
the scientific method.
Where's
I'm not
the quote?
interested in running through the modus
Where
tollens.
is the quote? Where's the full context? Where's the timestamp?
Go and look it up.
Right, so
You've got a
Jeremy,
brain,
carry on. He
you've
hasn't got it.
fingers,
He's
you've got
making it up.
keyboards, You've got Google. I'm not going to do your legwork for you. You don't do any for us.
You seem as if you like to talk. I like to let people talk who like to talk. It makes it easier to find out how full of shit they are.
Talk about dancing to games. When asked to support his bullshittery, he dances the ball-tard pathetic weasel gamma spiral numpty two-step, complete with a baseless assertion and an elephant-hurling fallacy. And what in the world does modus tollens have to do with this topic? Por favor? My word. I got this. Here we go.
Now I'm going to discuss how we would look for a new law.
Well, that's it for you foolish decisions. Yet another foolish decision with your doofus numpty appeal. Since we're here, let's go through and evaluate Dick's debacle.
Now I'm going to discuss how we would look for a new law. In general, we look for a new law by the following process. First, we guess it.
You guess natural laws? Based on what? Your imagination? Non sequitur fallacy. The first step is you observe recurring patterns and regularities in nature, Dick.
Then we well, don't laugh. That's really true. Then we compute the consequences of the guess.
You compute the consequences of the guess, eh?
You unlock this door with the key of imagination. Beyond it is another dimension. You're moving into a land of
bullshittery.
You've just crossed over into
the numpty zone.
To see what, if this is right, if this law that we guessed is right, we see what it would imply, and then we compare those computation results to nature. Or we say compare to experiment or experience. Compare it directly with observation to see if it works.
So you compare the guess computations with nature or experiment or experience directly with observations. Well, which one, Dick? Grammatically, this is nonsensical. Practically, he's one step away from cutting his own ear off. Delusional, disconnected drivel. And compared to experiment, wrong. Scientific experiments and natural laws are mutually exclusive. Validated scientific experiments give rise to scientific theories, not natural laws, Richard. To refute, simple. Show the second law theory of thermodynamics. Also, experience is not scientific experiment. I can experience metric tons without conducting a single scientific experiment.
Look here, you big dummy.
Dick, you simply observe recurring patterns and regularities in nature. You then describe them using mathematics. Voila, that's it. Those are what we call natural laws, and what the numpties fallaciously call the laws of physics. From Max Tegmark, Professor of Physics, MIT. We humans have gradually discovered many additional recurring shapes and patterns in nature. involving not only motion and gravity, but also areas as disparate as electricity, magnetism, light, heat, chemistry, radioactivity, and subatomic particles. These patterns are summarized by what we call our laws of physics. End of citation. So Dick, Richard Feynman, one of the most celebrated scientists in history, was essentially a numpty dipshit with charisma.
By definition, those are the only two categories that science deals with. So engineering, therefore, I guess from Chemo's perspective, must be supernatural.
What the fuck? Let's unpack this convoluted knee slapper. First, engineering is not natural science. From Boston University, College of Engineering, 2010 fall issue of the Engineer, title of the paper, Engineering is not science. Duh. From Henry Petrosky, Professor of Engineering and History at Duke University, title of the paper, Engineering is not science, and confusing the two keeps us from solving the problems of the world. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this bozo and his ilk keeps us from solving the problems of the world. The Ball-Tard Booger Eater also said that the only two categories science deals with are supernatural and natural. Number one, non sequitur fallacy. Natural science only deals with the natural world. Duh. Not the supernatural. Number two, false dichotomy fallacy. There are three categories that exist in our reality. Supernatural, that's information, time, thoughts, etc. Natural, sulfur, frogs, light, and synthetic. Barbecue grills, Indy cars, shoes. In other words, those things that are man-made. In what can only be described as a baby Huey, Elmer Fudd, Mr. Magoo blushing, premeditated full swan dive into the drained cement pond, bash yourself in the face with a spade shovel, quarter stick of dynamite up the ass, sit down on a bonfire clown show routine. These numpty dipshit ball-tards lay in wait, clutching their second-grade belly laugh or false dichotomy fallacy until their prey bring up, or they themselves bring up, a concrete noun. Let's say a baseball. Then exclaim, because there's only two categories, natural and supernatural, that anything can fit into, they then spring their trap. Are baseballs supernatural? While their can-fogamier prey is absolutely baffled and shocked by the batshit insane weaponized bollocks that's just befallen them, the booger-eating ball-tards celebrate and congratulate each other on a trap well sprung. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
And that again to me is a problem with the argument that you're trying to postulate, because what I can observe is at sort of sea level I've got quite a lot of pressure. If I go up 10,000 feet, that pressure is reduced quite a lot.
Who cares? All this is, for the 679,875th consecutive time, is nothing more than a boneheaded red herring fallacy. Mr. Fire divining mass spectrometry. The argument is, how can you have gas pressure without a container? It's about X, gas pressure, not delta X, gas pressure gradients. You see, X, gas pressure, comes before delta X, gas pressure gradients. Next block of instruction, how to open your eyelids while breathing.
We don't see an inrushing from high to low and from low to high.
What the hell did you just say?
Numpty Ball-Tard. In nature, gas pressure always flows from high pressure to low pressure, not low pressure to high pressure. It's a quintessential attribute of the second law of thermodynamics.
Again, I don't like the word proven, because we're talking about a theory, aren't we?
Numpty Baltard, we don't care what you like or what you don't like. Number 2, you have no idea what a scientific theory actually is, as evidenced by your doofus comment.
Look here, you big dummy.
From Chemistry About, a scientific theory summarizes a hypothesis or group of hypotheses that have been supported with repeated testing. From Quarks to Quasars, a scientific theory consists of one or more hypotheses that have been supported with repeated testing. From Scientific American, a scientific theory is an explanation of some aspect of the natural world that has been substantiated through repeated experiments or testing. And finally, from Professor Wolf's University of Rochester Physics Labs, a scientific theory represents a hypothesis or group of related hypotheses which has been confirmed through repeated experimental tests. Supported, substantiated, confirmed all mean proven. Get it, numpty? By the way, you'd fail 5th grade general science.
The theory of gravity comports to the observations that made them and have the highest correlation to those observations.
You pretender clown numpty dipshit. Scientific theory, which I just defined, by the way, has nothing whatsoever to do with observation correlations.
Ay, caramba!
P.S. There is no actual scientific theory of gravity. Clown.
First hypothesis is that we observed the fact that objects fall at a consistent rate.
That's not a scientific hypothesis, you bloviated, ball-tarded bonehead. An actual scientific hypothesis is a suppositional prediction of a natural cause and effect relationship. Objects falling at a consistent rate is an erroneous, weaky, mindless parrot description of an effect. Moreover, does helium, hydrogen, nitrogen, water vapor, or hot air, of which you're full of, all fall at a consistent rate? The only thing falling at a consistent rate are all the IQs of the poor saps subjected to your numpty dipshittery here.
So that's that 9.81 meters per second squared.
So that's the IQ drop rate.
That's the first thing that we can start to say as our empirical observations.
That's a composition fallacy. From logicallyfallacious.com, description: inferring that something is true of the whole from the fact that it is true of some part of the whole. Empirical is observable, testable, repeatable, falsifiable. So observable is part of empirical, but not the whole.
We then had a hypothesis to say, okay, if we do this, that, and t'other, what's going to be the effect on it?
Your meticulous attention to excruciating detail with your we do this, that, and the other hypothesis is OCD-like.
And from that, we get Newton's laws of motion.
Natural laws are not the result of scientific hypotheses or scientific theories.
You dumbass.
Number 2, all of Newton's so-called laws were superseded, that is, replaced 106 years ago by Einstein. From your alma mater wiki, Newton's classical mechanics were superseded in the early 20th century when Albert Einstein developed the special and general theory of relativity.
Uh-oh!
From Professor Douglas Klein via Phys Libre text, Newton's two crowning achievements, the laws of motion and the laws of gravitation that had reigned supreme since published in the Principia in 1687, were toppled from the throne by Einstein.
Uh-oh!
From Caltech, Professor Jacob D. Bekenstein, Einstein also replaced the Newtonian law of motion by the statement that free test particles move along geodesics, the shortest curves in space-time geometry.
Uh-oh!
And finally, quantum mechanics then took Newton and Einstein out back to the woodshed and bludgeoned them senseless with a nail-spike 44-inch Louisville Slugger.
Fatality.
You, sir, are one Dunning-Kruger, diabolical, do-licking dipshit.
Any problems so far with what I've said? I'm just trying to ask a question. Why are you trying to make a difference between linear and angular?
Well, the Harry T. Rex in the room difference is that angular momentum deals with spinning or rotating objects. Next block of instruction, how to tell the difference between bullet trajectory and tilt-o-whirls.
Oh, but I can still take an angular momentum and apply it in a linear fashion, can't I?
Nope. It's like converting apples to aardvarks. From the Department of Physics, University of Illinois, the two conservation laws, linear and angular momentum, are absolutely separate. Neither one can be converted to the other.
You're an intellectual dumbass.
Because all I'm talking about, in a linear fashion, I'd be looking at things like impact. And an angular momentum, I'm going to be measuring, kilometers squared per second as a function of movement.
Kilometers squared over seconds for angular momentum. Your wiki Google pretender clown fingers have failed you, or your blind melon chitlin eyesight won. The units of measure for angular momentum are kilograms meters squared over seconds, not distance squared or kilometers squared over seconds. Ain't nothing like the smell of busted pretender clowns in the morning.
An object will stay in motion unless another force is acted upon it. So, yes, unless another force is acted upon it.
Who are you, Jimmy? 2 times. Gotta get the papers. Get the papers. That Newtonian nonsense you keep incessantly parroting is a 106-year out-of-date pseudoscience, clown show. As for you, you'll never recover. You fire-divining mass spectrometry, natural science illiterate numpty dipshit of megalithic proportions.
Say hello to my little friend!
Hey!
Hello. It's for you.
Yeah? You've just been erased.